Hello Dark Souls 2 fans, and welcome back to another episode of Methodical Gamer. Today we're going to be taking a look at my very first PvE build. First up we have the Lightning Greatsword. This weapon scales with an A in Strength, an E in Dexterity, and a B in Lightning. The base stat requirements to wield this weapon are 28 Strength and 10 Dexterity. Next up we have the Defender's Shield. Now I like this shield for two reasons. One is its physical and general overall damage reduction, and the second is the fact it only weighs 5 units. And last but not least is the Lightning Dragon Chime. Now I like this weapon because it has an S scaling on lightning, as well as the super ridiculous fast casting time this chime offers. Going ahead and taking a look at the rings, we have the third dragon ring and the ring of blaze +2. Those are very self-explanatory. It's to raise up the health and the stamina and the DPS. Next we have the agape ring. I like to keep my builds at 150 with 2 million summon memory, but if you want to pull aggro and be a good summon, go ahead and equip the red eye ring. And the last thing is the southern ritual band +2, which increases your attunement slots by 3, which is needed for this build with the miracles I'll show you in a second. Alright, taking a look over at the stats, we have 30 Vigor. It's a little bit less than normal, but that's made up for the defense of the armor, so we're fine. Skipping down to Strength and Dexterity, we have 28-10, which is the minimum for the Greatsword. We have 50 Faith for the Dragon Chime, and for the Endurance and the Adaptability, it's a little bit lower than normal, but that's just so I can raise the Vitality up for this build so I can wear the armor appropriately. Since this is a PvE build, if you have any suggestions to help me or anyone trying to make this build, go ahead and drop a comment in the section below. Getting started with the function of this build and how it works. Coming back from Elder Scrolls Online, I have a very party-like mentality of how everyone in the group plays a role. And in Dark Souls it's kind of different, but I wanted to make this character where he fulfills the role of healer, DPS, and tank. So with that premise and mentality in mind, you want your abilities and your miracles to line up with that idea of helping the group. That's why you saw I had the miracle of Sacred Oath and Great Heal. The last miracle slot goes to Sunlight Blade, which scales off of your lightning damage, which is another reason why I infused my Greatsword with lightning. So you may have noticed with the build that I have 3 miracles but 6 slots. And the way that works out is Sunlight Blade and Great Heal require 1 attunement slot, and Sacred Oath requires 4. So because Sacred Oath costs 4 attunement slots, a lot of you may be thinking that it's not worth it. But let me go and tell you right now that Sacred Oath is definitely worth it because it affects the entire party. And people that have used it before can tell you it's worth it. And when you see the DPS go up for your whole party, you'll see that it's worth it. For PvP, you see a lot of people using it. I don't like using it in PvP too much because it feels like it's cheesing too much damage. But in PvE, you can never have too much damage. Alright, now that we've talked about the overall build, let's talk about specifics. Let's talk about the Greatsword since it's our main weapon. Let's talk about the moveset of the weapon. Let's talk about how we're supposed to be playing as a summon. First of all, as a summon, you're always supposed to get aggro off the host. That way you don't risk ending the game, you don't risk the host dying and it just all being over. You can see in this fight I'm not doing such a good job of pulling aggro. I do not know why these bosses do not care about what I'm doing, even though I'm sending out tons of DPS. But you've seen that I'm using the weapon two-handed, and it's not so much that I'm trying to put out as much DPS as I can on this boss, but when you're putting on a single target, you want to use the Greatsword two-hand. And when you're working on adds, or you're working on the run with multiple enemies, you want to get that one-hand horizontal strike. Now this tip will help you with DPS, but more importantly it focuses you on what your role is as the player. Looking at another specific weapon in the build is the shield. So in PvP I will always advocate for rolling or dodging over shielding, and I will always advocate for that. But in PvE, if you can focus on tanking and you can get the aggro on you and off the host so they can safely deal damage to the enemy, that's what you want to do. This build takes damage like a boss. A lot of my Dark Souls 2 friends, and actually most of my Dark Souls friends, prefer the PvE aspect over the PvP, and that's kind of ironic, you know, knowing how I like to play the game. But I have one person in particular that tells me the first rule being a Sunbro, Sunbros always go first. Second rule being a Sunbro, Sunbros always go first. Reason for doing this, you need to clear out as many enemies as possible. If you can stay with the group, stay with the group. But you honestly do not know what your host wants to do, what items he wants to pick up, or how he plays. So unless you're on the mic and you have live communication, you don't know what he's going to do. So go ahead and start clearing out enemies, make sure he stays alive. And I guarantee that's going to make the experience a whole lot better for the both of you. The two things that aggravate me as a host when I summon is A, they either don't want to get in the combat, or B, they try to rush your experience and don't let you enjoy the game the way you'd like to. So hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I know it's way different than what I normally make for my build videos. This is my first PvE video. If you have any suggestions for me, for the build, for the video, if you have any comments on what you like or don't like as a host or a phantom, leave that in the comment below. Happy 2016 to anyone I have not told already. Thank you guys for so much support in 2015. I did reach my end of the year goal of 500 subs, so I was super excited about that. For this year, I have tons of Dark Souls 1, 2, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and new ESO builds ready. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. So until next time, remember to play smart and keep on winning.